Welcome to Larp Academia, and today we're going to talk about magic, part 1 of our little basic intro to magic. And the first part will be about if magic is actually overpowered. Now, there are 3 real reasons why magic is considered to be overpowered, and really the first reason is for game designers, and the other 2 reasons are because of people who play martial classes. This may surprise you to hear, but a first level martial class is actually as strong as a 4th or 5th level magic class. I know it's ridiculous. Like, why do I have this? I'm not going to throw it. It's too precious to me. But why are martial classes so overpowered compared to magic classes? And why do people say that magic classes are the way to go? Well, it all starts out with the reason why martial classes are so powerful at level 1. And the power spike happens when they get all their gear and equipment. Now, as a martial class, you can wield however many short swords that you can normally wield, which is 2. I mean, you can't wield, we can't go Zoro on this. We can't wield 3 swords. But you can have extra swords to back it up. You can have extra throwing weapons. You can have a whole host of different weapons. While with magic classes, when they go out, you usually see a sword and board or 2 swords. Well, that's what they have. They don't have the option to really do other things because that's all they've bought. In order to have a sword, another sword, and a shield, that would cost so many points for this extra sword. So they only have their sword and board. Because of this, martial classes have a wide choice of equipment. They're able to carry multiple things into battle, but really, they don't. How many times have you seen a barbarian go out there with a short sword, shield, and short sword as well? So 2 short swords and a shield. Not very often? Okay, how many times have you seen a warrior go out on the field with a short sword, shield, short sword, tucked underneath that shield hand for especially strap shields, and maybe a javelin or 2? Or barbarian carrying a few rocks? Never? Okay, well what about a assassin who goes out there with 2 short swords at base in case these are broken, or maybe a short and a long so that they have versatility to choose how they want to fight, little throwy weapons on their person, and a bow back at base just in case they want to shoot people? How many times have you seen an assassin come out with all that? Never? Okay. Well, now add on top of that almost every class except monks, which monks are a little bit weird. I actually like casters for the power spikes, but except monks gain armor. How many people wear armor? Not many? I'd say about 90% of people don't wear armor. And that is one of the greatest strengths of martial classes. Because if you go out there and you're hit with a fireball, oh, on an arm, you're dead. If you're hit with a force bolt, oh, on your arm, you're dead, whatever. But if you go out there with armor, even 1 point, I call it 1 point invult because it blocks a fireball, blocks force bolt, blocks whatever else, blocks an arrow, it's extremely powerful, then you go out there and you have some defense. You have some ability to essentially slough shots because of this 1 point of brokenness. And it can be mended by your friendly casters out in the way because they should have mend. Or at least some of them should. Now, in addition to this, remember how I talked about how you have different weapons so you could choose in case the situation changes? Well, not only can you choose to change up your weapons in the battle because you have all of them at base, but if your weapons are broke, remember how I said that there's 2 short swords at base? Well, you can grab those short swords. Remember how I said that there's a down sword with your shield arm, so you have 2 swords? Well, your shield's broken. Cool. I'm still able to fight. This makes martial classes extremely powerful if utilized correctly. And that's a huge problem, is that many players do not fully utilize their kit. In fact, when I was playing a 3rd level assassin, or when I was 3rd level, I ended up killing a 6th level wizard who was pretty good. And in fact, I'm pretty sure my 3rd level assassin can kill 70, 80, possibly 90% of wizards out there because I'm using my weapons when I need to. I'm blocking force bolts and such with my weapons because, I mean, I can just get new ones back at base since I have about 3 there, and I also have a bunch of throwies on my person, so I'm able to throw them if I need against someone who doesn't have a shield. Someone who has a shield, I have a short and a long, so I can just snipe a person's leg without having an issue because it's a long sword when most people have short swords. I'm able to use a bow if I need to shoot other people in the back, and it just, the equipment and the gear, along with the armor to just slough a force bolt, phase bolt, or fireball, is so powerful. It's so powerful. And most people do not utilize what is in their base class at level 1. That's the first reason why martial classes are usually not as powerful as magic classes. The second reason is because of your game designers. Now think of it this way. I'm an assassin. How many per refreshes do I have? Yeah, 0, that's about right. I'm a scout. How many per refreshes do I have? Well, I have 1 that I sometimes never use. That's about right. Oh, I'm a warrior. Cool, I have 3 per refreshes, 2 true grits and also 3 ancestral armor. Oh, I'm a barbarian. I have 3 first level enchantments and 2 fight after death, which are pretty powerful. That's great. I want per refreshes. Now compare that to the casting classes. You might have some casters who just, oh, well, I only have about 5 per refreshes, maybe, and I have a list built on sustain, which is really what martial classes exceed on. They exceed in the area of sustain because they're able to just keep going, not stop. They have equipment, they can keep on fighting, while casting classes run out of resources. Now, 5 isn't too bad, but when you have someone have 10 to 30, like a druid, per refreshes are a bit more something that we really have to look at, because most game designers call a refresh at 15 minutes. 15, 20 minutes, sometimes even 10 minutes, because they want their players to have fun. A barbarian goes up to them, man, when's a refresh? I've used my 2 fight after death, so I want to use them again. And the game designer says, or the reeve says, okay, refresh everyone, and all refreshes are back. Now the game was intended and balanced around you having refreshes 30 minutes or later. Longer than 30 minutes. 30 minutes is the minimum. And the reason why is because a bad druid can enchant their entirety. Just enchant everyone, just say, oh, I'm a druid and I just enchanted everyone. They all lose their enchantments, whether through dying, dispelling, whatever else, and the druids, oh man, I'm almost out of candy, I'm almost out of enchantments to give people. Well, the reeve says refresh at this point. Oh, cool, I can just keep enchanting because I am effectively a 10th or 11th level player due to my spell list and my abilities being doubled. It's kind of the same idea of saying somehow you're doubling the not only abilities of martial classes, but the equipment that they can wield. They have 4 arms, they're able to wear up to 12 points of armor or anything. See, that would be fair for the amount of refreshes that are given at 15 minutes. And really it's game designers who completely break it, or reeves, when they give a refresh at 15 or 20 minutes. It should be at minimum 30 minutes. Otherwise you are power spiking those classes like druid, or allowing bad players, someone who just, for example, decides, oh, I'm just going to do Icy Blast Shatter and 8, not have any backup, not have any void touch or a bard friend or anything else to make it work. They just say, oh, I'm just going to keep spamming these spells. All right. Oh man, I'm out. Wonder what I should do. Oh, refresh. Okay. And not have to worry about sustain. The game designers who call refreshes are a huge problem, and that's what makes magic classes extremely overpowered as the second point. Now the third one, the one that you can fix, is knowledge of your own class abilities. Now, the truth is that about probably 60, 70%, maybe 80 or even 90% of martial classes either A, don't know about their class abilities, or B, just don't use them. I mean, how many times have you seen a warrior use all their abilities? And that's not just hardened or ancestral armor. I am talking about also insult. How many times have you had an assassin realize, oh, I can use abilities above 3rd level? How many times has a scout used dispel magic? How many times, I can keep going with this example, but there are a lot of times when martial classes just don't use their abilities, or they don't understand how they work. So a great example of this would be a warrior. If a warrior goes and just says, oh, I command the Titchera scout. The scout, oh, I guess I gotta fight him. The scout has the ability to go back and get help from a teammate. Or they would command another warrior, and the scout's right next to the warrior, and the scout can release a warrior, but the scout doesn't know that they can do that. So you have all these issues happening because these classes don't understand their abilities, don't use them properly, and that warrior, he didn't use it on a healer. He didn't use it on someone who doesn't want to fight him. He used it on someone who, of course, wants to fight him. So insult's not going to be as useful. And this problem, not understanding your ability or not using your abilities, is huge. Not understanding your abilities would be an assassin not understanding exactly how Blink works and coming out of Blink within 10 feet of a person. Or a warrior thinking that, oh, I can true grit and get all my enchantments back, or all my enchantments are still there. There's a lot of issues that people don't understand, and that's kind of what this channel is meant to address, is to help people understand the mechanics of the game. But it's something that you can help fix. If you are playing a martial class, you can help by telling people, and you can help by showing them that I actually know my abilities. Now, if you contrast this with magical classes, they have about 10 abilities per level, or 10 spells per level that they can choose from, and they end up knowing these abilities. They end up knowing all these abilities, what they can do, who they can use it on, which is huge, hard to do at first, but huge, and they actually understand all these abilities. Now, if someone just comes up to the field and actually has all the things in their kit, if you would see a warrior come up with armor up to even 3 or 4 points, any armor, why not? Any armor on a martial class except a monk, and they come out with javelins, a shield, and a sword, and maybe another sword, oh my god, they're already pretty good. They use insult, Paragon. Paragon. Doesn't matter if they use it correctly, doesn't matter if they do anything. All they need to do is baseline, utilize what their class has. They don't even need to be creative. They don't need to be an assassin who will shadow step to stop a spell ball. I step in the shadows. Pink. I return to the physical world. I turn to the physical world. Pop, 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 pop. They don't need to do that. They just need to know, oh, I have abilities. Oh, these are what these abilities do. Oh, and I have equipment. I come out in the field and I'm a Paragon. Versus magic classes, where you have to know your abilities, you have to have your equipment because you choose it and customize it, which is a strength of magic classes, that you're able to utilize everything you have. Magic classes seem broken and overpowered when their baseline, what every standard caster is expected, or what is expected of every standard caster, is the same as Paragon for a martial class. Now, these are the reasons why magic is considered overpowered, is because on pen and paper, if you actually optimize your martial class, you are very strong. You have the equipment to make many casting classes cry. You have the ability to use multiple weapons. You can fight other magic classes. You can do it, except maybe a warrior against a wizard. I mean, that's kind of designed to be a counter, though. And lastly, your game designers need to actually use refreshes as intended. That barbarian might want their fight after death, but you are making that druid over there become a god, a literal god on your field. Because again, they're now a 10th or 11th level person comparatively to everyone else. Their enchantments cannot be dispelled because they will be refreshed too quickly. They cannot be fought. They are extremely overpowered, and that is because of how the refresh system is used. Now, is this applicable to every class? Well, you can make a case against barbarians and monks, because monks level a little bit weird. They're still very powerful, and casters innately know their abilities, so they're able to work around monks' immunities. Same with barbarians. They know barbarians, and the casters know their spells, so they know what not to use on them. So it kind of counters their innate defense. Actively trying to counter innate defense will always be superior. And again, barbarians, in my opinion, kind of get shafted on their 6th level abilities. And armor breaking, again, was intended with the idea that all the martial classes would say, oh, we're going to utilize our kit fully. We should actually do this. And then barbarians come out and say, oh, you're not a warrior? Oh, whack, all your armor's gone. I'm so great. But they don't get that because armor breaking is almost worthless, again, because 90% of people don't wear armor. So the game is really a little bit unbalanced, and magic users are a little bit overpowered because of those 3 factors. But what do you think about these 3 factors? Do you actually disagree? Or do you agree with me? Of course you agree, because I'm always right in these topics regarding magic. But what do you feel about this? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more content about magic, Amtgard, and everything else. If you want to hear a bit more about the basics, what all magic is, that'll be in our next part. And our last part on magic will be about spells that cover or span 3 or more magic classes. So stay tuned for those, keep watching, and keep LARPing.